Good day, everyone. I'm Jennifer Casabar. Welcome back to my channel. Our topic for this video is all about methods in criminological research. First, I will show to you the contents of our discussion. We have descriptive research, techniques under the descriptive method of research, types of survey techniques or approach, content analysis, characteristic of content analysis, historical method, historical research, four major activities in historical research, case and field method. We have also case study, characteristics of case study, correlational method, causal comparative or ex post facto method, experimental method, experimental research, and the experimental plan. First, we will discuss descriptive method. Descriptive method means to describe systematically a situation or area of interest factually and accurately. So when we say descriptive research, it describes what is. So ibig sabihin, present. Okay? It involves the description, recording, analysis, and interpretation of the present nature, composition, or processes of phenomena. The focus is on prevailing conditions of how a person, group, or thing behaves or functions in the present. Descriptive research is a fact-finding with adequate interpretation. The descriptive method is something more and beyond just data gathering. The latter is not reflective thinking, not research. The true meaning of data collected should be reported from the point of view of the objectives and the assumption of the project underway. So when we say descriptive research, we are pertaining to the description and interpretation of what is. So, ibig sabihin kung anong nangyayari sa ngayon, okay, during present time. It is concerned with the conditions or of relationship that exists, practices that prevail, beliefs, processes that are going on, effects that are being felt, or trends that are developing, okay, which is happening during the present times or yung nangyayari sa ngayon. Okay? You're going to deal with the description, the recording, analysis, and interpretation of the present nature. Okay, like extent, like the effect, and whatsoever. Okay? Next, what are the techniques under descriptive method of research? Letter A, under descriptive research, we have survey. Okay. Survetive, rather, it is otherwise known as normative survey. It is a fact-finding study with adequate and accurate interpretation. It is used to collect demographic data about people's behavior, practices, intentions, beliefs, attitudes, opinions, judgments, interests, perceptions, and the like. And then such data are analyzed, organized, and interpreted. Okay? A survey is a research method used for collecting a data. Okay? It is from a predefined group of respondents, which is the purpose is to gain information and insights into various topics of interest. So, kinukuha natin kung ano yung kanilang insights or perspective when it comes to a certain topic of interest. They can have multiple purposes, and the researcher can conduct in many ways depending on the methodology chosen and studies goal. Okay, so totoo lang, marami pong klase ng survey or types of survey techniques or approaches. Number 1, we have total population survey. In total population survey, the entire population is involved in the survey. So from the word itself, total population, okay, it is also known as full population survey. All individuals of a population are included in a study. So, for example, in a survey of direct questioning, all of the students in the university, a special form of full or total population survey is the census of population. So, if you are uh, being surveyed with regards to the census of the population, that is considered as total population kasi po lahat ng tao within our country are being surveyed. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabing total population survey, ang tinutukoy po natin dito ay yung kabuuan ng ating population. Okay? For example, in the university, if you are going to conduct research, in a university or in a school. So, kapag ka lahat ng tao doon ay respondents mo, ang tawag po doon ay total population survey. Okay. Number 2, we have sample survey. Sample survey, only a sample or portion of the population is involved in this study. So, this survey which is carried out using a sample or sampling method. Okay? Example is portion only or hindi lahat. Okay? And not the whole population is being surveyed. So, example kaya, di ba, school. So, ngayon, sabihin na natin, school ka pa rin magkakandak ng survey. But then, sample survey lamang ang gagawin mo. So, ibig sabihin, hindi po yung buong population ng school. So, for example, merong 5 na courses. So, yung 5 courses na yan, kukuha ka lamang po ng tig 20 students per course. So, ibig sabihin, sila po yung mag-represent on behalf of their course. Okay? Sample survey po ang tawag doon. Next, we have social survey. Social survey, the investigator researches on the attitudes and behaviors of different groups of people. Okay? Social survey aims to collect a great deal of data about individuals and their lifestyle by means of questionnaire or any other quantitative research techniques. Okay, so we are pertaining to a great deal of data about individuals when we are pertaining to social survey. Okay, like attitudes, behaviors, and the likes. Okay, next, number 4, we have social survey, or rather, school survey. This is used to gather data for and about school and to assess education achievement in education system. Okay? Pag school survey kasi, we're pertaining to collection of information from staffs, students, from their families, regarding the school performance, about their culture, about their services, and the likes. Okay, that is for school survey. Number 5, we have public opinion survey. For public opinion survey, this is used to gauge the reaction of people towards certain issues or person. Okay? When we say public opinion survey, it consists of desires, yung mga gusto, wants, or even thinking of the majority of the people. It is the collection of opinion of people on an issue or a problem. Next, number 6, poll survey. Poll survey is a survey in which the respondents are asked if they are voting for a certain candidate in an election. Okay? Voting for a certain candidate. So, for example na lang, di ba, sa ating class election, we are pertaining to class or survey or poll survey. Next, market survey. This aim at finding out what kinds of people purchase which products and how packaging, advertising, and displaying affect buying, prices, and so on. For market survey kasi, ang pinaka-aim po dyan is to collect data in terms of kung ano ba yung mga kadalasang binibili ng mga tao, ano ba yung product na yon, how about the packaging, or even advertising, okay, kung ano ba yung effect nun dun sa mga buyers or dun sa mga consumers. For market survey, it describes the gathering and analysis of market data. Examples are trends in market prices. Diba, minsan meron yung mga time na nagkakaroon ng price hike. Diba, tumataas yung mga bilihin. Okay? And the presence of competing product. And ang mga respondents po dito sa gatong klase ng survey ay yung mga mismong mga consumers. Next, we have evaluation survey. Evaluation survey, the researcher looks back to see what has been accomplished and with a critical eye, evaluates the result whether satisfactory or not, with the end view of making improvements. Okay? Example is faculty performance evaluation. That is an example of evaluation survey. You are evaluating the teacher whether she or he performed well on your class or not. Whether satisfactory ba siya, poor or fair, and the likes. Next, comparative survey. So from the word itself, comparative. In this survey, the results from two different groups, techniques, or procedures are being compared. Okay. Next, short-term survey. Data are collected over a period of weeks, months, or even years, but the period should be less than 5 years. When we say short-term, yan po yung may mga 5 years and below na mga types ng researches. Long-term survey, yan, opposite po yan ng short-term, that is 5 years and more. Longitudinal survey rather, this is almost the same as long-term survey. An example of this is practice of economy, time series analysis in which they compare data collected with the data that were collected sometime in the past. So for example, the same yung study na gagawin, pero i-compare po siya doon sa data na na-collect way back 10 years ago. That's for example, survey call it 2020. For example, 2020 from 2000 to 2010, then 2010 to 2020. Okay, longitudinal survey pong tawag doon. Next, 13, we have cross-sectional survey. Several groups in various stages of involvement are studied simultaneously. So, sabay-sabay. For example, studying the effect of smoking for a period of 20 years. So, you are studying various groups of people or person. Okay? For example na lang yung effect ng smoking doon sa taong nag-i-smoke ng 10 years na, doon sa mga taong nag-i-smoke na 20 years na. Okay? You are doing that simultaneously, sabay-sabay. 14, job analysis survey. For a job analysis survey, this provides information on the general duties and responsibilities of workers, their education, training, experiences, salaries, types of knowledge and skills, and others that helps administrators or managers in setting up training programs and recruitment policies. Okay? From job analysis, of course, the workers themselves are the one who is being surveyed. So, they're going to survey about their educational background, the trainings, and experiences, and of course, the salaries, so that it will help administrators and managers to come up with additional programs na mas may enhance yung kanilang mga skills and knowledge. 15, community survey. This survey provides information on the various aspects of community like health, employment, housing, education, economy, and the likes. Number 6, correlation study. Study that shows the relationship between two or more variables. That is, how variables varies with another. So, for correlational kasi, it is aimed to find out whether there is either positive or negative correlation between two variables, two or more variables. Next, let's move on to content analysis. Content analysis is a research technique deals with the documentary materials that are already existing and available. It has been defined as a research technique for the objective, systematic, and quantitative description of the manifest content of communication. Since content analysis deals with the documentary materials, content analysis and documentary materials are one and the same thing. Okay, content analysis actually, this is the study of recorded human communication. Okay, take note, I repeat. This is the study of recorded human communication such as books, websites, videos, letters, text messages, tweets, and so on. Okay, or any kinds of recorded human communication. That is the so-called content analysis. And the characteristics of content analysis are objective, systematic, and quantitative. Next, let's move on to historical method. Historical method means to reconstruct the past objectively and accurately. It is often in relation to the tenability of a hypothesis. Okay? When we say historical method or historical research, it is a process of selecting the area or topic to write the history about. Okay? Collecting data about the events that occurred in the area or about the topic, collating the data, sifting the authentic from non-authentic, and then making an interpretative narrative about the critical inquiry into the whole truth of the events. Historical research describes what occurred in the past and then makes a critical inquiry into the truth of what occurred. Okay? Pag sinabi kasing historical method, we are pertaining to collection of techniques and guidelines that the historian used to research and write histories of the past. It is a qualitative approach. So, pag sinabing historical research, qualitative approach po yan. So, that is in terms of observation, of interviews, even videos, text messages, emails, and the likes. Okay? It is a qualitative approach or a qualitative technique. Historical research studies the meaning of past events. Okay? Yung mga nangyari during past. In an attempt to interpret the facts and explain the cause of events and their effect in the present times. Okay, that is historical research. We have the four major activities in historical research. Letter A, choosing and defining the problem. Of course, when you are coming up with historical research, you need to identify first the idea. You need to identify what is your topic or what is your research problem. Okay, that you are about to address. Okay, ano ba yung hinahanapan mo ng solution? Okay, that is for letter A. Letter B, collecting the data, of course, you need to conduct a background literature review. You need to collect data that is needed in your research problem. Letter C, critically analyze the data. Okay, you need to interpret all the data that have been gathered. And then after that, you can now write the research report. Number 3, case and field method. Okay. Case and field method means to study intensively the background, current status, and environmental interaction of a given social units. Okay? For case study, it is a comprehensive, complete, detailed, and in-depth study and analysis of an individual, institution, group, or community. A case study is a method which takes account of all pertinent aspects of one thing or situation, employing as the unit for an individual, an institution, a community, or group considered as a unit. So when we are pertaining to case study, it is a method which takes account of all the pertinent aspects of one thing or a situation. Okay? Employing as the unit for an individual, a community, or any group considered as a unit. Case study can also be defined as an intensive study about a person or a group of person which is aimed to generalize over several units. Actually, for case study, this is a strategy of doing research which involves empirical investigation on a particular contemporary phenomenon within its real-life context using multiple sources of evidence. Number 4, we have correlation method. For correlation method, this is to investigate the extent to which the variations in one factor correlate with variation in one or more other factors based on correlation coefficient. Actually, during my master's degree, or yes, masteral, my thesis is all about performance of criminology instructors in University of Eastern Pangasinan. So with that, I use correlational method. So kino-correlate ko yung performance ng criminology instructors sa kanilang personal attributes kagaya na lang ng experience, ng kanilang trainings attended or seminars attended, and also the educational background. Okay? Bakit nga ba may mataas na performance ang criminology instructor sa UAP? Yun ang tanong kasi doon. So, kino-correlate po siya doon sa mga factor kagaya ng educational attainment. So, pagka daw ikaw ay master's degree holder or doctorate degree holder, of course, you will be having a good performance in the university. Compare pagka hindi pa masyadong upgraded yung educational attainment. And also with the experience, syempre pag mas matagal ka lang nagtuturo, mas maganda yung performance mo compare doon sa baguhan na teacher. Okay? And the like. So, yun po yung study ko dati. Correlational method po yun. Next, causal comparative or ex post facto method. For ex post facto method or causal comparative, this is to investigate possible cause and effect. Okay? Relationship by observing some existing consequences and looking back through the data for plausible causal factors. The research, okay, based from the research investigation, the effect of an independent variable on a dependent variable by comparing two or more groups of individuals, unlike correlational research, both experimental research and causal comparative, okay, research typically compare two or more groups of subjects. Number 6, we have experimental method. When we say experimental method, we are pertaining to investigation of possible cause and effect a relationship between two or more treatment conditions and comparing the results to a control groups not receiving the treatment. So, what will happen? Okay? For experimental method or research, this is again a kind of quantitative research. This is systematic and scientific study wherein the researcher manipulates or controlled one or more variables. It determines the effects of variables to another variables. And this is conducted in the controlled environment, hence allowing the researcher to control the situation. Experimental method of research is defined as a method or procedure involving the control or manipulation. So, kagaya sabi ko kanina, di ba, kinokontrol po or minamanipulate po yung conditions. That is for the purpose of studying the relative effects of various treatments applied to a members of samples or of the same treatment applied to a members of different samples. The basic purpose of experimental research is to discover the influence of one or two more groups upon a condition, group, or situation, purpose of which is to discover what will be. Okay, what will happen in the future. Okay, unlike historical research where pertaining to what happened in the past, for descriptive research, what is happening in the present, and for experimental research, what will happen in the future. Okay, let's move on to variables. Variables is anything that may change or may be changed from one condition to another, either qualitatively or quantitatively. Okay, kasi ma'am, kanina mo pati na sinasabi or minimension yung word na variable. So, ano nga ba yan? Variables are mostly mentioned in experimental research, even in a simple experiment. An independent variable, okay, is anything. Independent variables, anything, condition, or process which is controlled and manipulated by the experimenter and applied on another thing, conditions, or processes intended to have or produce a change in or reaction from the latter. Okay? Ang independent variable, ito po yung cause. Okay? While dependent variable, ito po yung effect. Take note, I repeat, independent variable is the cause and the dependent variable is the effect. Okay? Dependent variable is anything, a condition, or a process which exposed to or upon which treatments or action from independent variables are being applied. Okay? For independent variable, pwede itong i-control or pwedeng baguhin. Pero pag sinabing dependent variable, hindi po pwedeng baguhin. As is, yun na po yun. Okay? Bigyan tayo ng example. Example, so for example is about po sa teacher, student, at saka sa module. Okay? Ilan nga ba ang gagawing module ni teacher? Okay? So, paano yun yung dependent natin? Okay? Ang dependent variable ay nakadepende sa independent variable. Okay? Paano po yun? So, for example, kung mas maraming estudyante, syempre, mas marami ding module. Okay? Ito student, yan po yung dependent variable. Yung number of module, yun po yung independent variable. So, paano dependent natin yung student? Dahil ang dependent variable ay nakadepende sa independent variable. Baliktad pala siya, guys. Ulitin ko ang independent variable ay students. Ang dependent variable ay module. Okay? So, paano yun ang dependent natin? Dahil nakadepende ang ating dependent variable sa independent variable. So, paano po yun? So, for example, kung mas maraming estudyante, syempre, mas marami ding module ang kailangang i-prepare ni teacher, of course. Pero, pag konti ang students, syempre, mas konti din ang kailangang i-prepare or i-provide ni teachers. Hindi naman po pwede na kapag dinamihan ni teacher ng module, dadami din yung kanyang students. Hindi po. So, ibig sabihin, mag-a-adjust po yung module doon po sa number ng student. Ipo-provide lamang pong module ay depende sa number of students. Hindi po pwedeng sobrahan. Okay? Kaya nga sabi ko kanina, nakadepende po yung ating dependent variable sa independent variables. Okay? Next, last topic is all about experimental plan. So, experimental plan number 1, in your planning, of course, you need to determine first the experimental problem or topic. So, you need to identify the idea. You need to identify the topic or the research problem. Ano ba yung research problem na kailangan mong i-address? Okay? After that, surveying related literature and studies. So, you need to conduct background related literature and studies. Okay? Ano ba yung mga studies na related doon sa topic mo? Okay? You need to conduct a research. Number 3, formulating the hypothesis or hypothesis. Okay? We all know that hypothesis is known as an educated guess or a tentative guess. Okay? Wherein our hypothesis will be the one to give guidance or basis with the researcher kung ano yung tatakbuhin ng study. Number 4, identifying experimental variables. Of course, you need to identify your variables. Number 5, selecting appropriate experimental design. Number 6, selecting the sample. Kung sino po magiging respondents mo dyan. Number 7, selecting or constructing appropriate instrument to measure the results of the experiment. Kung ano po yung gagamitin mong tools and instruments when you are going to conduct an experimental research. Number 8, conducting the experiment. Of course, you need to carry out the experiment. And number 9, measuring the results and applying a statistical process. So, you need to analyze the data and observation. And lastly, after analyzing the data, you can now write the report of the experiment. So, you can now state your conclusions. Okay? So, remember the experimental plan, identify your problem, conduct related review or literature review, make hypothesis, identify your variables, select your experimental design, and your samples, and then your instrument, carrying out the experiment, and then analyzing the data. After that, you need to state your conclusions. Okay? So, that's the end of our discussion with regards to the methods of research. So, that's all for today. So, thank you and stay safe.